So it's time for a beer.
Mm-hmm.
Time to talk about a book.
Yeah.
Books and beer.
So.
So Tom,
Yep.
what are we talking about today?
So this one was really important to me because it was about this year I got into Jordan Peterson, and he kept talking about many books, but Crime and Punishment was a big one. Now, it was about November, and this is a big book, but I told myself I got like 4 12-hour flights. I'm going to get it done. And I finished it, and yeah, absolutely, I understand why it's a masterpiece.
Crime and Punishment. Who wrote Crime and Punishment?
Dostoevsky. He's considered
Dostoevsky.
like one of the Russian greats. He's considered the greatest fiction writer of the last century, not this century. But yeah. Hey, now I think about it, Zach. Before we forget.
I was about to ask you.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, what you drinking?
As you can see, my beer is it's lost all the carbonation. It's been sitting for a little bit, but I got a Sapporo Super Draft 1 again. How about you?
Hey, and I got the Sapporo Special 30th Anniversary Edition. This is 6%, and
Cheers.
on a Thursday afternoon, it's good drinking.
Thirsty Thursday, as they say in college.
Ah.
Anyways, Crime and Punishment. So why should I read this book?
Okay, so this book is amazing because, like, once again, we don't do fiction a lot, but the idea of this book was that it happened at the, actually it was 2 centuries ago. It happened at the end of the 19th century that Dostoevsky wrote this book. And it's pretty much like, it's considered the biggest thought experiment about where do morals come from. And the idea is, if there isn't a God, why is it bad to murder? And that's what the book is about. It's about looking deep into this idea and really seeing what would it mean to murder someone, and not just kill someone, specifically murder, but that's some semantics that we would get into. But it's something that it's about, like, 900, 800 pages of them going into someone who decided to murder someone that everyone can't stand. Everyone thinks is a problem for the community, and what happens to the person who did it.
So after he murdered this person,
Yep.
What does he experience?
So, no matter what, first of all, the act was extremely difficult because the act of murdering someone is extremely significant. Because although he thinks he's doing something just, it's something that absolutely clenches him. And as soon as he does it, immediately everything in his life falls apart. He's not able to work. He's not able to eat. He's not able to study. He's not able to look his mother in the eyes. If he did something right, what would be the problem? Why can't he look at her with pride, with joy? But absolutely not.
So he goes through this, like, moral reckoning.
Yes. And it's one of those things that he sticks by it, where in the book, the main character really says that what I did was a service. She was a parasite to our community. She exists to steal from the poor, and what I did was just. However, everything that, like, the community around him might even agree with it, but suddenly it's just the fact that the community knows there was a murder, there is a murderer in the community, and worst of all, he starts to see people who get blamed for it that aren't him. So the guilt ends up being passed on to someone else. So someone else is going to suffer for something that he did. So, once again, this is something that someone might not consider when they say, is it just to murder someone?
So they don't consider other people, and your actions have consequences for others.
Yeah.
So what happens at the end? Does he end up killing himself, or does he get over this this moral dilemma that he's in?
So this was a thing that, like, I was in a good book, you're not supposed to know the ending, even when it's about to happen. But the thing that, like, before the epilogue, it pretty much, he just eventually says, I admit it, I did it. But he goes into the center of the street, and he's like a godless man. But the thing is, the hurt is so deep in him, he doesn't know what he's talking to, but he says it to something. He just feels like he has to say it, and he says, I did it. I'm a murderer. And he goes into the police station and just says, I murdered this woman. And in his court, the thing that I love the most is the whole book he talks about. He goes, I murdered her because she's evil. I murdered her because she's a thief. I murdered her because she's a parasite. But in front of the judge, in front of the jury, he says, I murdered her because I am poor and cold and hungry, and I hated that she had things I didn't. And it's because of this open honesty he finally lets go, where that was the truth. It's what really was the crime was he was actually lying to himself why he did it. So